Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the highlights from the FIA Nations race at Catalunya in Group 2. So for this race, you were allowed to do setups. It's quite controversial on GT Sport. I'm not a big fan of it. I prefer the default setups. I think Gran Turismo is more about everyone being an equal opportunity in the race in terms of the car. And yeah, I don't like the way setups go because it means more people that have more time to learn setups or have someone who's in a team with good setups have a big advantage. But that's the way it was for this race. We're starting in P14. Now, we did get a setup off of Quartz TV from Twitch, and I did do some alterations on this setup. So we're starting from P14. Not a very good qualifying at all. Terrible qualifying, but straight away from the start, absolute chaos. Two cars out of the race, spun straight away. And yeah, we're now up to P10. Now, the 08 car, which I'm using, was better on the standing start, but not as good in the race in general. You couldn't really do a no-stop, as another two cars are off track there. And then as we come through here, we have another car on the outside of the track, comes across, hits the other car, and absolute chaos going on here. I honestly think this has been one of the most chaotic starts to an FIA Top Split race that I've ever seen on GT Sport. So yeah, crazy start. Now, it was good for us because we're now up to P6. The 08 obviously very good off a standing start and was able to jump me up a few positions there, and we got very lucky with the way that race started at the beginning. So let's have another look at this. So after the two cars that got wiped out at the start there, you can see what happens from the back here. We can see that there was more chaos going off as the two cars there going off, and there is a reason for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Two more cars, one goes onto the gravel there. We've got cars up ahead banging into each other, and then we have a big massive spin moment there as two more cars go off, and you can see absolute chaos. So at the start, this is what happened to P1. So he actually wrote in our comments his brake failed on his TLCM pedals. So as he went into the braking zone, you're going to see no braking inputs going in. Just keep an eye on the braking input and nothing. So his TLCM pedals actually failed on him into the braking zone, which was pretty horrible for him because he actually qualified P1. So really unfortunate for that driver there. But we're up to P6 after that absolute mayhem. And yeah, I think that's got to be one of the most chaotic starts I've seen in GT Sport Top Split in a long time. But yeah, we're one of the only drivers in this 08 car. I think the guy in front of us there, obviously in the 2016 car. And as we come through here, we're going to go through this right-hand corner. You can see that the car in front does kind of a switch to the inside and kind of gives me the line then up the inside. So we take P5, and yeah, this is going okay so far. I didn't expect to be in P5 after a terrible qualifying session. It was really bad. We actually got our lap ruined on our qualifying session because someone tried to do an overtake in qualifying, which, yeah, you don't tend to do that, but it is what it is. We're up to P5 and it's going really well so far. So now another thing with this race which was really abnormal was the slipstream was on weak. It wasn't on real. Now in Group 2, that means you're going to get a slipstream from 2.5 seconds, I think it is, or around 2.6 seconds from the car in front, which again, it's all very gimmicky for me. I really don't like this settings, 2.5 seconds slipstream, setups on. It almost like having catch up on. That's how bad it is. So yeah, please PD, don't do this in the future. Let's stick to default setups. Let's stick to real slipstream. Let's start making these races with strategy. And again, like, this race could have been a 21 lap race or something like that and had soft, medium and hard tires compulsory. And it would have been miles better with default setup. It would have had so many opportunities. You'd have had different cars available for the race as well. I think the 08 versus the 16 GTR and the Lexus all could have been pretty competitive. And even the NSX, if you would have had all three tyres available, could have probably competed with in the right hand. So yeah, unfortunately PD trying something different here. It made some entertaining racing, but in my view, it's just too much of a field spread where people that haven't got time to do setups and stuff like that. I do think that in the future we need to stick to the default setups, and I do get that people like setups, and that is why we did the video a long time ago about how they can change stuff for GT7 and have a tuning only combination or a tuning only championship. Have an FIA tuners championship. That would be really good for the people that enjoy tuning. Stick the default setup to nations and manufacturer and have a tuning separate competition for people that want to do setups. I think that's the way to go. Don't be mixing tuning in with default during the season. I'm not a big fan of it, but yeah, everyone's different, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I do think that Gran Turismo's sweet spot is with everyone in equal machinery. But we're up to P4 at this race. Everything's going really well here. Now, again, you can see the advantage we're getting here with the slipstream, because P2's getting the slipstream from P1, P3's getting a double slipstream from P2 and P1, and I'm also nearly getting a triple slipstream here. So it's such a benefit to be in this type of position. We see we're actually starting to pull away from P5 though. You can see on the gap there's a bit of a gap developing between myself and P5, so we are starting to break the slipstream. But like I say, it's 2.6 seconds, which is crazy. I mean, yeah, it just shouldn't be that far. You shouldn't be getting benefits down the straight like you was from that distance, in my personal opinion. But like I say, it did make for some quite entertaining racing, I suppose. A bit false, if I have to say so, because you could go a lot faster than what you technically should be, just purely because of the slipstream. So again, it's benefiting me at this stage though, because again, we're doing low 34s. Now, I think without slipstream at this point, we'd be doing 34.4s to 5s. But we're benefiting, and normally you don't benefit in these cars. Normally you'd be losing pace because of a little bit of dirty air. So yeah, we're going to skip on to lap 6 now, and we're starting to really put P3 under pressure here. So we're trying to get into that podium position. Now, the thing is, I knew for a fact that a lot of these cars in this race would be doing a no-stop strategy. So P1 and P2 very likely to be doing a no-stop in the 2016 Nissan. Now, the car in front of me is in the 08, so he's very likely to be pitting the same as me, because the 08 car could not really do a no-stop strategy. You had to go for the one-stop with this car, I felt, to be competitive. And also, the no-stop strategy was in general just a little bit faster than the one-stop strategy if you could look after the tyres. Now, again, this is leading back to the setups. There was things you could do to the setups to make the tyres last longer, and there was little quirks with the setups and stuff like that that helped with tyre wear as well. Stuff that people who have been playing the game and doing setups for a long time might have already known about, but the majority of people who play GT Sport use default setup. They don't care about setups, and they don't know these quirks. So again, another reason I think to stay away from the setup area of GT. Maybe, like I say, I think a separate setup championship would be brilliant. So we're up to P3 in this race. A nice move we did on the driver then, and now we're skipping ahead to the pit stop phase. We're going to do the pit right in the middle, lap 9, and you can see the driver behind me also going for that pit stop on lap 9 in the same car as me. So we're both in the pits. The top two there, you can see it, and also Coyote, who got involved with a lot of the chaos at the start, is also on a no-stop strategy. He's up there in P3. We're not going to catch them up. It's very difficult to catch up people who are good on saving tyres. And another thing is, Amenti was in the slipstream to Aura for a bit, and now he's going to get Coyote, who's going to probably overtake him, and then pick up pace from Coyote's slipstream, from where he's going to hang on to that for a few seconds, for a few laps, and that's going to help his race pace out. So yeah, again, that's another thing with the long slipstream. It's helping drivers out. That's how you had to run this race. Probably a good way of doing it was just running your setup based on pure tyre wear and just trying to hold on to the slipstream and doing a no-stop. But we're up to P7. Now we've got to try and lead this car behind us and try and push and try and keep him behind, because obviously he's getting the benefit of that 2.6 second slipstream. And we're closing in on P6. You can see P6 clearly hasn't changed his tyres yet. He's obviously going to try, I would think, pit this lap, because he's losing incredible amount of time. You can see just through the corners, just look at the traction zones, gaining like 2 or 3 tenths on him every single corner. So yeah, he's going to probably pit this lap, but there is a group of cars a little bit further ahead. You can see that P5 is a little bit further ahead, and it's going to be interesting if we can catch up to that group. Let's have a little look now as we come through the final chicane, trying to make sure we hit the apex nicely there. And P6, as we expected, is off into the pits, and that is going to jump us up to P5. Now you can see the gap to P5 is 12 seconds, quite a big gap. However, his tyres are toast, and yeah, we're going to hopefully catch him up. So as we drive through this lap, you can see through the corners how much we start gaining on him in every single corner. You can just see how the delta is just coming down and down, and it's coming down very, very fast. So it shows you that we're clearly going to be catching him up within a few laps. So we're going to skip ahead a couple of laps later now as we're jumping on to lap 13, I think it is there, and you can see we're down to 2.3 seconds behind P5. So for me, this strategy is working better because I didn't really want to do a no-stop strategy race on this. It wouldn't really suit my driving. But we're up to P6 and possibly going to be able to jump ourselves up to P5 in this race. And considering where we started, that will be an incredibly good result. So again, try and jump on this curve, use the inside there, onto the power as early as we can. And we've now got that slipstream and we should be able to go for a move into the braking zone possibly, because he's going to have no grip in that braking zone compared to the 08 car on fresh tyres. So let's just watch this as we come into the braking zone. Just watch how far back we're able to send this. So a long way back, but just the extra grip off them fresh tyres, and we've made that move up the inside and up into P5. Now we've got another car quite a few seconds ahead of us there, and again it's just going to be a case of catching him up, and we should be able to do this. You can see that we've got over 4.5 laps to go in this race. The gap is only just over 5 seconds, so that shouldn't be too difficult to catch that gap up, because like I say, these fresh tyres are going to be a lot more competitive than extremely worn tyres. So again, fast forward in the action for the rest of this lap, and then you can see, just look how quickly that car in front of us is getting nearer to us. Like in fast forward, it really does show. You can see on the straight here now, you can see he's there visible in the distance going into turn 1. And again, the speed advantage that we can take through these fast corners is really notable. And again, now you can see that delta coming down to 2 seconds and now under 2 seconds. So 1.7 seconds behind. And again, this looks like we're going to be able to get ourselves up into P4 in this race. So again, pushing on, trying to get into his slipstream. We're in that slipstream now from so far back, and that is the thing. Once you're in it from this type of point now, we just got to stay pretty close through here. With the extra grip on the tyres, we shouldn't have a problem with trying to get a run on him into turn 1. So again, you can see the speed that he's having to take through there. It's so slow. He can't get on the throttle. He can't really get the rotation on the car. You can see he's losing control of the car. And again, as we come through there, we're having to lift off because he's that slow through the chicane. So again, it really does show you that I think for us, this strategy was working out well. But if you could look after tyres, it definitely was the way to go. But I do think a lot of people just got dragged into that no-stop race when really it probably wasn't advisable. But yeah, we're up into P4 now and it's going pretty well. So yeah, we've recovered ourselves up to P4 from the back of the grid, and we've got a Menti now quite far ahead of us. Now that gap is quite considerable, and I think he was actually in the slipstream of Coyote, so would have been interesting if he wasn't in the slipstream to Coyote and he didn't hang on to Aura's slipstream for as long, how that strategy would have paid out in the chance of getting a podium maybe. I don't know. Would have been possible, but yeah, we're going to keep pushing anyway and see if we can gain some time on him. And now we've just got to really try and concentrate our efforts on holding off P5, because he's right in that slipstream. He's had the slipstream from since we changed the tyres, which means his tyres are probably going to be in better condition, because on GT Sport you actually end up being able to save your tyres better in a slipstream. Maybe that is one thing that you do need to consider for Gran Turismo 7, is maybe hurting the tyres when you're in the slipstream. So for cars that are behind, make their tyres a little bit worse. Make it a bit more like real life, where if you're following someone in dirty air, in general your tyres are going to be worse than if you've got clean air. So I think that's something that Gran Turismo should look into doing and incorporating into their tyre model, just to give the advantage to the car that's in front maybe, because we see it so often in Group 4 races. People will just sit behind other cars and save their tyres because that's the best way to do it. So maybe a thing for GT7, incorporate a little bit of extra tyre wear when you're in that dirty air or something. Something needs to happen to try and stop people wanting to do that really. But yeah, we're on to the final 2 laps now. We're fast forwarding lap 17 and we've got P5 all over our rear. You can see he's got that slip. We've got to try and get a very good exit off this final corner. So going back to normal speed now, and we're into the final few corners. Can we hold him off? You can see now we're down to 7 seconds as well, under 7 seconds to a Menti there, just around 6.87 seconds the gap. So we are gaining, but we're not going to have enough laps here. We probably could gain about 3 seconds, however, on this final lap. However, we're going to be battling for P4 in this race. You can see that P5 is going to go down the left hand side. We're going to go over to the middle of the track and try and brake as late as we can, as we both go side by side into turn 1. We give him space on the left, he gives us space, a little bit of contact there, but nothing too major, and we hold the inside line and he tucks back up underneath us into this long right hand corner. So some really, really entertaining racing. We're going to go to the right hand side of the track again. He's gone to the left hand side. He's going to try and do the cut back. We're then going to try and get on the throttle and try and carry a bit more speed out the exit of this corner to give us the inside line into the next corner. So again, we've managed to hold that inside line side by side. Still absolutely brilliant racing here. And we've managed again to hold on to P4. So again, we're losing a lot of time, but we're managing to hold on to position. However, as we come into the braking there, we get a little bit of a hit from the car behind, which pushes us wide. Now, at this point, he does back out. However, he stays on the outside, which actually then compromises both of our lines through there. It would have been better if he would have tucked back in behind us, really, considering that he hit us in the braking zone. But I don't think it was deliberate. But again, we managed to hold on to this position. Then we look in the mirror, and Lamos, 10th Lamos, I think it is, actually takes out the other driver on the apex and just carries on. A little bit rude. I think that was wrong. He only had the tiniest bit of his front car that hit him on the back end, so he wasn't even alongside. That was a bit naughty in my view, and he should have really have given that position back. But we're going to manage to hold on to P4 in this race, and that was an incredibly intense end to the final lap. Some great driving, a little bit of a hit on from the car that knocked us off nearly, but luckily we managed to hold on, and we take a P4 in this top split FIA race. And yeah, we would have only been about 3 seconds behind the BenQ without that battling on the final lap, so it would have been quite close. But yeah, we come away with 307 points, which is quite good points considering this was a setup race, and I have no idea on GT Sport with setup. So yeah, a lot of chaos, a lot of fun, a lot of good racing, but my overall opinion is that we need to stick to the default setup. This race could have been incredibly good if it had 3 tyre compounds being used, couple of extra laps and default setups. But yeah, it is what it is. We'll be back for more FIA highlights videos, more GT Sport videos from daily races, and more live streams. Thanks again for watching, everyone.